everyone, welcome back to another video on the channel. Today we're back with the FIA round 1 of season 2, driving the Group 4 cars at Brands Hatch. We're riding on board now in the qualifying session, as we're going to jump through to the session which I think I need to really improve in these races. You're going to see now, this is Mercedes. Obviously I'm driving the Mercedes SLS for the Manufacturers Championship. The car is very heavy, and again this track is probably one of its weakest tracks. So we're going to jump on board with my first flying lap. You can see there, made a little bit of space in front of me so that I wouldn't get held up on lap. The guy behind did the exact same thing, and luckily he wasn't really in the slipstream, so he's not really going to gain much in terms of down the straight. He might be picking up very slightly, but I wasn't too worried about that. So going into turn 1, trying to hook the lap up. First lap obviously is about just putting a banker lap in, so then you can push harder when you change your fuel, change your tyres, and obviously you've got lower fuel on because you won't put any fuel in when you pit. So going through turn 1, hooked that up reasonably well. Got quite a big moment of oversteer going through turn 1, managed to hold it reasonably well and still maintain speed, so got away with that one. Ran pretty wide out of that corner and still carried quite good speed. So far this lap's going okay, considering we're on full fuel. We've got the the heaviest of fuel will be in qualifying, and the car's obviously not really suited to this track. So just trying to put a banker lap in so then I can really push on my final run, and it's something I really do need to start concentrating on, is getting these qualifying laps together. I think partly the reason why I'm not hooking these laps up is because with the Ferrari, the Group 4 car, I found it a lot easier driving because it was a bit more competitive. You find you don't have to overdrive the car, and then because of that you're driving smoother, and then the lap time comes when you drive smoother. I always find the smoother you are in general, the faster you will be. But this lap so far going reasonably okay for my first lap in qualifying. Obviously the full fuel on board, and this is just again like just putting that banker lap in, then giving yourself the opportunity to push harder when it comes to your final run, which is the most important run when you've got them fresh tyres on. So going down the right hand side now for the shortest distance, I go over the line, and it's going to look like a 1 minute 29. So 1 minute 29.6, which I was actually fairly happy with for my first run in qualifying. You're going to see, as most people go over the line, it ends up being a fairly competitive time. I didn't expect to be doing too well. You can see there in P9 there at this stage of qualifying, where I'm about to do my final run. Now in general, when I've done a few laps at this stage, you can see there we've got rid of quite a bit of fuel now, and I've got fresh tyres on. So this lap is where I really need to start hooking things up and really pushing the laps, because there's potential for me to get a 29.1 or 2 with this car, 29.1 probably if I hooked it up. So going into turn 1, this really did put me off. I had to back off a bit. You saw the throttle lift and I kind of backed off, and that lost me valuable time there, but luckily kept it going and probably only lost about half a tenth to a tenth. Going through this turn, made the main hairpin there, and really hooked that one up reasonably well, and actually caught back a bit and actually got myself through with a blue sector. So I was actually ahead of my first lap purely because of that corner. If I wouldn't have had that issue through the turn 1, I think I would have been about 10th or so ahead. And then go through this corner now, took a different line to my overlap, went through a little bit faster, but the exit was really strong, which gave me really strong speed down the straight now. And with the lighter fuel, obviously the car's going to be a bit faster. So as I come through to this split now, I go through nearly 2 tenths up. So this lap is looking good so far, and I really hooked that corner up, kept real high speed through it. But then coming into this corner, I just missed the apex completely, and I've ruined the lap again. This is really getting frustrating for me now, because the lap wasn't even going that well and it was nearly 2 tenths up, and the next corners is where you're going to gain quite a bit of time with the lower fuel. And I think I decided to get out the track there, you see, when the car come past an exit, because that was the last run. So I think that lap would have been looking at maybe 3 tenths faster, which would have put me in the top 10. So again, these mistakes are kicking in, and it's my own fault. I need to sort this out, because I'm making errors in qualifying because I feel like I have to push this car too hard. You can see there another Mercedes in front of me. And really, I should have been in the top 10 at least. I think I had potential if I would have just carried that lap on, which wasn't looking like a particularly great lap, to be in the top 7 or 8. As you see, the race started, and Ticheney behind me got some sort of rocket start. He must have had some sort of NOS on his car. The game gave him a boost start. Luckily I saw it, went defensive, and he wasn't able to get past me. But yeah, the speed that he came at me was insane. He must have put him in a higher gear or something at the start, and then he just flew up the rear of my car. But I obviously saw it and went defensive. You can see everyone getting through turn 1 reasonably tidy. A little bit frustrated that I'm down in P16, because if I would have just hooked that lap up with the strategy I was running, the aim I was to do in this race was fuel saving, and I kind of got forced into it now, being down in P16. There's no point driving aggressive when you're really in P16, really, because if you do that, you're just burning fuel when you're stuck behind people. So I started doing a lot of fuel saving. Unfortunately, in this race, at the end of the race, I said it in the other video, I forgot to record. I pressed the square button to record the footage, and I don't think it had started saving on the left. I don't think the square was available to press when I pressed it. I've not realised that, and couldn't save it. So all the footage is from the replay. I've got the onboard footage from the replay, so you can't see the fuel saving that I'm doing. But pretty much what I was doing was short shifting, which you will see on the obviously the rev counter in the replay footage anyway. But I was also running fuel mixture 3 and 4 through the middle sector to try and save as much fuel as I could, and this was going to mainly help me out when it came to pitting, because my pit stop would be a little bit shorter, obviously, because I've saved more fuel. As you can see there, staying with the cars around me, I'm not really aiming to battle with these too much. I just want to save some fuel and maybe jump a few places. One car already has got a penalty there and has had to back off, and that's 1 place gained straight away, so up a few positions already from the start. So far everything's going okay. As we jump on board now, with the onboard action, you can see there the Mercedes in front of me. Obviously he got 1 place ahead of me on the grid. I'm not too sure if he did his best lap on his final run. I really don't know. Obviously I completely messed my lap up again, and it's so frustrating because I know really I should have been on a 29.3 or 4, which would have put me, you know, well into the top. I think it would have put me about between 7th and 9th, something like that, and it would have it just lines you up for a better race. Now being this far back, I'm putting, you know, this is my own doing. I'm doing all these mistakes myself, so I've only got myself to blame. And partly I think it is obviously because the car is not the strongest, and I'm obviously trying to overdrive it to try and get some sort of results out of it. But maybe I just need to accept that it's a bit weaker and just try and drive it smooth, and maybe the qualifying will come to me better in that regards. Hopefully, again, I'm really not expecting to, but I'm just going to not go into any races with much expectation anymore, because whenever I go into these races with any sort of expectation, it just gets totally messed up in the qualifying. And hopefully, like, the GT3 races can be a bit stronger. In general, they should be, because the AMG is a little bit stronger than the SLS in terms of its BOP. I think the Group 3 cars in general, as an overall thing, are a lot more closely matched. I think the Group 4 cars are fairly bad, though. I think the BOP is pretty much awful. I think, you know, you can see it straight away from Tidjany should not be starting at this track where he was on the grid. He's a good driver, and he's also very strong at Brands Hatch, and he's starting way down there because his car is just very weak. As you can see, a car trying to go down my left hand side. I managed to hold a really tight line and get on the power a little bit earlier, so held that move off, and he wasn't able to get past me there. So far everything's going okay. I'm in P14, the race is going well. I do love that camera angle as we watch all the cars flying through, and the race is going reasonable. You can see I've got, you know, P10, 11, 12, 13 right in front of me. I'm doing a lot of short shifting. You'll see what I did notice was the Mercedes in front of me must have been driving more aggressive, because he was pulling away from me down the straights when I was short shifting, and I was running fuel mixture 2 when I was in his slipstream. So my guess is he was running the 1 mixture and being a bit more aggressive on the throttle. So I'm just trying to save more fuel than him, because my aim is to try and beat this guy in front of me, really, because I'm obviously, my main aim is to finish top of the Mercedes, and that is what I've got to start, you know, concentrating on. I've really got to stop worrying about being competitive against cars that are a lot more competitive at certain tracks, especially in this Group 4 class. And it is a bit disappointing, because Group 4 racing is my stronger class, really. So I think I've set myself up by picking Mercedes to be a little bit weaker than I should be. But I made the mistake of going Sky. No, I was kind of forced into it. You know, from previous videos you'll know about that. But I won't make that mistake again. I think I'm probably going to be a bit more going towards picking a guy for any future events and competitions and stuff. I'm not going to worry about being in the top 2 of the manufacturer. I'm just going to pick a car that I can enjoy driving and be competitive with and be at the front of the grid with, rather than battling my way and trying to overdrive a car. As you can see there, getting very close again with the car behind me, but going defensive. He's not going to get around the outside there, so I'll give him space on the right hand side, make sure he's got a car's width, and make sure that you just can't get past it. You're not going around the outside of someone there, and I pretty much knew that, so went a little bit defensive, and then again going quite tight into this corner so he couldn't go on the inside, but then making sure I can get on the power nice and early, and trying to rev it a little bit harder down this straight, because I didn't want him getting past me. I wanted to try and hold this position and obviously do the fuel saving with it, so then when it comes to the pit stops, I'm able to gain a few positions with that extra fuel that I've saved. But even with the fact that this car is obviously a little bit weaker, it's still enjoyable, these races, because no matter where you are on the grid, you've always got people to race with in these top split FIA races. You can see they're getting extremely close to the guy behind me. I'm having to drive fairly defensive because I was using 3 and 4 mixture through this section, because that's where I can save some fuel with this Mercedes. The Mercedes isn't the best car at saving fuel. It's a pretty awkward car, because if you short shift this car, it's pretty weak down the straights. The only way you get a reasonable amount of acceleration on this car is by like over revving it a bit, and without doing that, the car's fairly slow, to be honest. And it's a bit, this is what puts me out. I think the BOP, they need to sort it out, because Mercedes SLS isn't a fast car down the straights in comparison to the top speed cars, yet it's not a very good, particularly good car at handling. And also the fuel, you know, there's, as you can see there, the guy behind me managed to get up the inside, so I had to give him space on the inside. But what I did was I braked really late. You can see there, holding it on the outside, and managed to get on the power reasonably well, and just kept that inside line, and managed to just make sure that he couldn't, you know, turn in on me. I gave him space on that right hand side and held that line. So great racing so far, really good battling with this guy behind me. He was driving very, very respectful, this guy. I think it was GT Alex. He wasn't being overly aggressive, he wasn't making stupid moves, he was being quite respectful in the way he was driving. So he's having a really good race with me, and I was enjoying this battle, because I was trying to not like lose too much time. You can see the Mercedes getting a little bit further away now that I'm battling away with this guy behind me, but maybe I should have just let this guy go. But I find that once you let one go, they all just think they can pile past you. So I'm always reluctant to do that. I always want to just hold on to the positions, because the more you can hold the cars up behind me, the better. You know, it could end up later in the race that, you know, it pays off, you know, if they're doing fuel saving also. So you always have to think of that. As you can see, the Mercedes in front of me, just over a second ahead of me, but I wasn't too worried, because I felt like I'd have pretty much equal fuel, or around about the same fuel as him. He's obviously driving very well as well in that Mercedes, doing a good job, and at this stage everything's going okay. Considering I started P16, I didn't expect to be, you know, much further up the grid than this from my starting position. Just a bit disappointed with that qualifying. As you can see there, he's trying to go down that left hand side, but I managed to hold it on the inside, and I've got to get the car back over to the right to go defensive. So I've managed to get that inside line. He's going to try and go around that left hand side and hold it around the outside like I did, but because I'm a little bit further ahead, he's not able to do that. So then I position my car for the inside of the next corner, and again he had a little look on the inside there, but again he couldn't go for that, and he backed out of that, which is great to see. Respectful driving from this guy, GT Alex. So nice and clean, and I have to say I enjoyed the little battle I was having with him at this point. It was a little bit annoying for me, because it is losing me time, but it's not losing me massive amounts of time. The leaders, I've not got a chance of catching the leaders in this race, because they're in more competitive cars. They've obviously got out from the start and pulled away, and you know, especially when you start in P16, by the time you go over the finishing line, you're already about 10 seconds behind them anyway. So there's not much you can do about them. As you can see there, he's managed to get up the inside there, and I decided to let him go there. There was no point me trying to hold it around the outside, but then the guy behind just decided to smash into the side of my car there, Steve Game. I was a little bit disappointed with that driving. That was really silly driving. We have a little look now from this view. You know, he's quite far back at this stage, and he basically wasn't allowing me to turn into the corner, and I was a little bit frustrated. This is what I'm getting at with the lack of respect from other drivers. I feel like I need to start being like this, because a lot of other drivers are doing it, and it's really frustrating. You can see there, I give this guy space because I don't want to turn in on him, I don't want to block him, but then he's now at the turning point. There's the turning point, he's well behind. He just decides to throw it up, push me out of the way. He's just barged his way through, and I think I might have picked up a 1 second penalty in that as well, which is frustrating, because, you know, getting a penalty because someone's got no patience. All he had to do was hold it off there, tuck him behind me, and then he would probably be able to overtake me on the next straight. It's so frustrating when people are driving like that. It's just, there's no patience, there's no respect, and it bugs me a bit, because if that's myself in that position, you've seen myself in other positions, I don't try and do stuff that will, you know, affect other people's races. I don't want to hurt other people's races. You can see there, I decided to pit because I was that annoyed and frustrated. I thought, I'm just going to pit. I've got a lot of, you can see 50 litres left of fuel, just get in the pit, and I want some clean space, because I started to lose faith in what other people would do behind me if that situation came again in the next 2 laps. You know, this was very early though. I've now got to do 10 laps on the next set of tyres, which might be asking quite a lot, but the SLS is okay on its tyres. That's one thing about it, it's not too bad on its tyres. So I knew I'd lose pace at the end on the last 3 or 4 laps, but I felt like it would still be reasonably drivable. But like I was saying, yeah, I feel like a lot of drivers are just not got the respect that they need, and I was worried if any of the other guys, if we're going to do that and just pick up more penalties. And this is one thing about the penalty system, the way you're driving is kind of affected by the penalty system, because you're so scared of getting penalties all the time. You're worried if you're going to pick up a penalty if someone makes a move. It forces you into maybe a tactic that you wouldn't want to go on normally. But again, not much, partly my decision to go on this strategy, but partly forced into it by the fact that I was just annoyed by that, and I thought, I'm not going to risk anything more like that now. I just need to pick up some sort of points in this race, and I don't want to get to the end of the race finishing P20 because of other drivers, poor error, poor mistakes and poor driving. But now I've got a clear track, but unfortunately not the best outlap so far. It's been okay, but I've not been, I've still been short shifting, and annoyingly I went to over fuel, and I don't know what I did, but when I was in the pit, you might have saw I went before the diamond. I wasn't really watching what was going on, and I panicked and just pressed it because I thought I'd gone way high, and actually did it ever so slightly short. I wanted to go about a lap, maybe nearly a lap extra, because I wanted to drive aggressive in this next stint, so I could use the one mixture pretty much all the way to the end and drive really aggressively and try and make up some time, because I know I've saved fuel, but I didn't. So you're going to see I've doing a fair bit of short shifting in the driving all the way to the end now, because I misjudged the pit stop and wasn't really concentrating, partially because I was probably a little bit wound up from, it wasn't a massively terrible move that he made, but it's just the lack of little bit of respect is needed in them situations. He knew I was going to turn in because I've got no other option. The corner's already, I'm on the corner, I've let that driver through. If you go out wide on that corner, I'd end up in the gravel. So he was lucky that he didn't really push me into the gravel, so I was a bit frustrated at that. But you can see there, going through the sector a little bit ahead, obviously with the fresh tyres, so gained about 2 tenths. Obviously not pushing the revs too hard. I've got the guy in front of me in the Citroen, obviously doing the fuel save, and I think he was going for a no-stop strategy, which, I was tempted to do this at one point when I was testing it out, but then I realised that the fuel, you'd have to literally be driving around in 2-3 mixture and stuff, and it wasn't worth it with the amount of laps that are in this race 16 and the amount you would lose each lap. So I was quite surprised though. I thought the Citroen would be a bit better at it, purely because the amount of fuel it does save in its when obviously short shifting, unless something's been changed on that car, I'm not aware. But also Tidgney was looking like I think he was also on the same strategy as the guy in front of me there. I think Tidgney's a couple of places ahead, so I managed to get a few places back already there as I go over the line at the end of lap 8. You see him back up to P16, and we've got some cars that haven't pitted yet. As I run a little bit wide then, frustratingly lost another half a second or so, maybe 3 tenths or something like that. So a little bit annoyed at myself for that error that I've made there, because it was an unforced error, but again, it's because I'm trying to push and trying to get close. You can see the SLS has come out of the pits just ahead of me, so he was obviously doing the fuel saving similar. I've actually gained a bit of time on him though, because after the driver pushed me out the way on the corner, I obviously lost a bit more time and I was a little bit further back than this, so managed to gain a bit of time on him in the pits. But obviously I wasn't sure what sort of fuel level he was on as he came out of the pits. I do know that I was on 50 litres and used about 6 litres a lap, and he was, I think he was on 38 or 37 as he came out of the pits, so we pretty much used about identical fuel levels. So it was all depending on how much fuel he's put in the pits compared to myself. I wasn't really sure. As you can see, some of the leading drivers now pitting, obviously got a little bit less fuel. I think you can see though from some of the other drivers, when they pitted, they had about 19 litres of fuel left. Maybe I should have just stayed out to the lap 8 and just pitted with the other drivers and then jumped them in the pits and then put a bit more fuel in and then had the fresher tyres. There was an option, but I wanted to just try something different, because to be brutally honest, there wasn't much chance of getting an amazing result in this Mercedes. It's just not very strong on this track. Hopefully some of the other tracks will be a bit stronger, but whether I'm going to even make it into the top 24 race now is another question. It's going to be a battle to get into that top 24 race even in the Mercedes. But hopefully I can start picking up some more consistent results and somehow get there. I'll do my best, obviously. As you can see there now in front of me is the Citroen, who is obviously on the no stop strategy, so he's going to obviously be very slow down the straights where he's doing the short shift and trying to save that fuel so he can get to the end of the race. Probably not the best strategy to run for this track in the FIA races, because I don't think the pit lane loss is massively high anyway, and obviously 16 laps longer in FIA races. In daily races you can get away with it, but for these FIA races I think you end up losing too much time, as you can see there. Got myself on the inside, and he's going to pretty much let me go there. He's not going to fight it, he's going to let me go. Sensible driving for the strategy he's on. Obviously he doesn't want to hold himself up by battling away, so he's let me go through, and I'm up into P14, so 2 positions up at this point, and it's looking reasonably okay. Not overdriving at this point. Obviously I've got that Mercedes a little bit ahead of me. The gap's staying pretty static. He might have pulled a little bit away from me, but you don't know what fuel people are running at different stages of this race. Obviously with you can run aggressively now and then save it at the end, or do the opposite. I just tend to run it fairly equal, just keep the short shifting going, and try and keep the lap guidance, so it's always equal whenever you go over the line, just so that you're not forced into massive saving on the last lap. That's what I was trying to do. You can see the laps have been fairly consistent, 1 minute 30s and a few low minute 31s, so consistency's okay at this point. But now the tyre wear is going to start kicking in soon. Obviously we're coming to the we're on lap 11. I've had these tyres on from the end of lap 6, so they've already done a fair few laps, whereas other people on reasonably new tyres. As you can see there, I've got now Teaching in front of me. Obviously also on that no stop strategy, I'm really suffering in that car. I do feel sorry for him driving that car, because that's probably even worse than my car, to be brutally honest. Obviously maybe not an overall quality of its ability to get a lap time in, but the fact that it's front wheel drive, the tyres are just going to get killed on that car, and he's going to have nothing left by the time he gets to the end of the race. So I don't really know what it's like on its fuel though, but you can see massively gaining through the corners, where his car's obviously got no grip left on that front end through any sort of reasonably paced corner. And again, he's really losing time on the fast corners. I had a little look up the inside here, but I'm not going to be able to make a move there. He goes into this corner, and again he's gone a little bit too deep, and he's made the error. So I put my car down the right hand side, and he lifts and lets me go there. So I do a little thing of obviously the hazard warning lights, just say thank you, because again, good driving. He's not going to hold me up. He's keeping it clean. He's thinking about his own race, because there's no point in holding me up there, because all it's going to do is probably make other drivers get closer to him. So now I've managed to get myself up into P13, and a driver I think has gone in the pits. Whether we're going to come out ahead of him, you're going to see there, just come out ahead of him there, and got myself into P12. So far everything is going reasonably well, and obviously the issue is the tyres are going to start wearing out. And another driver has made a mistake there. Calster, I think, that is making a mistake in the Toyota 86, which is a very strong car at this track, probably one of the strongest cars. It's probably, I'd say it's the 3rd strongest car at this track. So I knew that car would be very strong if he was coming back up me, if that was just a mistake going through turn 1. But into P11, and so far it's all looking reasonable. The only issue is, you can see I've got a lot of cars behind me, and I've obviously got a very fast guy behind me in a Lexus with obviously fuel to push, and that car down the straights is just so much faster than any other car. And this is what bugs me a bit on this game, is because the BOP is quite drastically out. The Mercedes SLS has not much handling ability, but the Lexus RCF Group 4 car is reasonably okay at handling. It's a little bit heavy, but it's nothing like the SLS, yet it's faster down the straights than the SLS. So they need to look at the BOP in general in Group 4, because you've got the Megane at this track, which is just untouchable. If anyone reasonable was driving the Megane at this track, they've got an easy win. And there's not really much anyone can do, unless they're in an Alpha, and maybe the Alpha 4C as well. Could probably get close to the Megane, but not with its fuel saving. Megane's fuel saving is really good. So again, the Megane, the Alpha, and probably the Toyota 86 were the preferred cars at this track. As you can see there, going defensive on the right side, and he turned in a little bit there, and actually give me a little bit of contact, and I think I picked up another 1 second penalty at that point. So now I was on around 2 seconds worth of penalties, and I was a little bit frustrated because he turned in a bit. Maybe he just thought he could go through the corner and didn't realise I was there, but obviously I was going to be there because I was on the inside, and a little bit frustrated. So just trying to drive it reasonably as aggressive as I can while saving fuel. You can see me short shifting and trying to hold lines. You can see this is going to show you the difference in straight line speed. Now I actually got a reasonably good exit from that, and I actually started to rev it close to the end of the rev bar, which gives you reasonable speed. You can see they're changing gear pretty much at the end there in 5th gear, but have a little look as he's gained and actually got past me on the left hand side. That is a visual representation of how weak this SLS is. It's supposed to be a fast car down the straights, but it's not, and it's basically a heavy, it's an average car down the straights, and quite heavy, so I think they need to look at the BOP for Group 4 cars 100%. As you see there, he got past me. I decided to let him go. There was no point me battling him there or trying to throw it up the inside like the driver did to me earlier in the race. I just let him go because you shouldn't be making a move on that inside there and trying to battle back. And as I go a little bit wide on that corner, go onto the dust and lose a little bit more time in the 86 Toyota, which is really fast around the corners, gets around the outside, and this is going to show you again, the 86 is one of the slowest cars in a straight line. I'm revving it pretty much to the end again, and I just can't get near it. So I think that where the SLS is strong is at top speed. You know, maybe when it hits 6th gear, it's got a reasonable acceleration in 6th gear, but in terms of its acceleration, as I run wide again, and then you can see another car goes up the inside. This has been a pretty much disaster last lap or so, as I've gone down from P11 to P14, lost such a large amount of time through mistakes of my own and also just pretty poor driving. And I was starting to get a bit frustrated. Obviously the tyre wear is starting to kick in now, where I've pitted them 2 laps early, so this is really what my tyre should have been like at the end of the race. But I was trying to push too hard as well, and now I've got another car behind me, and he's going to be able to get past me if he gets a run on me anyway, especially in that Corvette. But again, the Corvette pretty similar to the SLS in terms of its strength for this track. It may be fractionally better at this track, I'm not too sure, but I know it's a pretty similar car, and I'm not too sure, but he's probably got a lot of fresher tyres on though, as now I'm trying to hold on to P13 and just try and get to the end of this race in at least P14, because again it's not gone too well this race. Started P16, now in P14, at one point was in P11, and I think I made I think my error was in my own driving in terms of pitting on lap 6. I think I should have stayed out to lap 8, used up the wear of them tyres, pitted with a lot more fuel than the other drivers ahead of me, and then would have jumped them with fresh tyres on. Could have put more fuel in my car and still jumped them probably, and then given myself enough fuel to run aggressive to the end, and tried to make a race of it, because my actual pace at this track is fairly good in Group 4 cars, but this car is just, I'm really finding it difficult to get to grips with the understeer in these cars. I've mentioned it so many times in other videos, I prefer lightweight cars that have handling, but this car is just the opposite really. You've just got to get used to the understeering. I really need to start learning how to be a bit more aggressive with this car in terms of how you've got to throw it into the corners and try and get some steering ability out of it. As you can see there, it's short shifting still because I need to do some sort of fuel saving. You can see being a little bit more aggressive sometimes with the shifting, because I've managed to do quite a bit of saving on the first 4 or 5 laps, and I've obviously got that Corvette behind me, so I wanted to hold on to this position, but he throws it up the inside there, and again another silly move, and he actually gave me another, so I now had 3 seconds worth of penalties because he tapped me in the rear there and give me another penalty. So again, people making silly moves without much respect. I think people need to start being a little bit more patient. You're not going to get past there if you're pretty much a car's length behind. To throw it up the inside of a corner like that, people are going to be, if a car's in front of you, he's going to throw it into the corner. It's pretty much like Suzuka at the end of the straight to the 130R. You only can make a move if you're side by side. If you're getting close to the rear of a car, you can't just throw it up on a corner like that. It's just dangerous and silly. But he did it. I picked up a penalty. Luckily, I managed to save it. Didn't lose anything else. As we're going now into the final lap, however, I've got about, I think it was just around 3 seconds worth of penalties. As I go through the turn 1, managed to get a reasonably good exit from that this time, and he's quite a bit behind, but have a look in the mirror there. I didn't notice it, but he just clean pushed me out the way. He outbraked himself, barged me out the way, and puts himself up another position, which was really frustrating because it's again showing the lack of respect from other drivers. He's just thinking, I want that position, I'm going to get through it without any, I don't care what penalty I pick up, I want that position. And I picked up another 1 second penalty, which then put me to 4 seconds worth of penalty. He also got a penalty in that, I think it was a 3 second penalty, but at the end of the day it doesn't matter because he's pushed me out the way and I've picked up a penalty that I shouldn't have. And so through this race I've picked up 4 seconds worth of penalties again. A little bit frustrating, but hopefully they're going to do something with this penalty system soon, because driving like that is basically getting allowed, and I'm losing. The driver who's trying to race clean is getting punished, because in my view that was a bit of a dirty move. We'll have a little look at that move in a minute as we go to the end of the race, and he did apologise for it. As you can see there, that I didn't mind that because GT Alex actually got on the inside going into the corner, and I gave him a bit of space and he managed to fight his way through there, so I wasn't really worried about that. I think that was fair. I think he was entitled to do that. He had his car on the inside, you see, at that point, so there was no issue with his overtake there. He did that fair and square. He got on the inside of me. Obviously I'm struggling with tyres a bit, and now you're going to see everyone's going to pretty much brake before the finish line to try and get rid of some penalties. I had about 4 seconds worth of penalties and go over the line in P16. So another very disappointing race. And I'm going to have a little look at the incident. As I was saying, as Devil said that he missed his braking point, but I don't believe that. He's messaged me saying sorry and that he missed his braking point, because going into this corner he hit me there, which was a bit frustrating because I picked up a penalty. I don't know why he hit me like that. Maybe he thought I'd be able to get the power a little bit earlier, but obviously if I'm coming from that angle I can't. And then going into turn 2 in the hairpin, you're going to see now from this view, he just launches it in, and basically he knows that he's going to use me as a brake. In my personal view, I think he did this on purpose. I don't think this was an accident, because if it was an accident, why did he pull out to make the move? He just clean barged me out of the way, and I don't like that type of driving, because it's not a clean way to overtake. It's not how the racing should be, and I picked up a penalty. So overall, a little bit disappointed with the driving from other drivers and that, and I know people are probably going to say about the complaining, but to be fair, I'm not gonna be happy when I'm getting driving like that against, because I don't race with. I give more the respect to other drivers on the track. I just want some of the other drivers to give the respect to me. Like you saw Calster, very respectful. Alex, very respectful. Ticheney, great. You know, using his common sense and letting people pass when he's on a different strategy. These are the type of drivers that are given respect, but then there's other drivers that are just thinking, I want that one place, I'm going to push you out of the way to get it. And I think they need to start thinking about what they're doing. And this is why I wish they'd bring in the system that iRacing brings in, because if you knew you had a risk of getting disqualified from the race through making them type of moves, I think that you're going to stop them, because on iRacing, if you do something like that, you pick up a ×4, whereas the driver in front will only pick up a ×1. You get 17 in a race. For this type of race, you maybe want to drop the amount. You could get down to like 12 for shorter races. So if you knew you was going to pick up a ×3 or a ×4 penalty through making a silly move like that, I think people would think twice, because if they do 2 of them, they'd only need a couple of other slight cuts or something, and they'd be disqualified from the race. So in my view, that's what they need to start adopting on GT Sport, because it's becoming too much. You see it every day. I've seen so many comments on Twitter recently about the penalty system and the fact that they're not sorting it out. I just really hope that it gets fixed soon, because it is getting in the way of the racing, and the drivers are not being respectful, because they're kind of abusing the system in a way sometimes. Anyway, hope you enjoyed the video. Still some great racing with Alex there in that race. I enjoyed that little battle I had with him at the start. Some other reasonable battles. I did the best I could. Unfortunately, I probably made the mistake in qualifying, which ruined the race a little bit for myself. And then I pitted too early, which again was my fault. But I was just trying something different, because to be honest, I just wanted to try and make some sort of result out of it, and I just went too aggressive, and should have really stayed out till lap 8. But hopefully the results will come back to me in these over the few seasons, and I can pick up some results somewhere else, because it is starting to get me a bit down about the results that are coming through, and I need to start picking up my performance in qualifying and getting better results. Anyway, so if you enjoyed that video, make sure you do subscribe to the channel. I do upload every single day as much as possible, and obviously I do upload iRacing content as well. Make sure you click that notification button so you don't miss any future videos, and I'll be back very soon. Thanks again for watching, everyone.